What you've come to know as NGP, our next generation portable, is officially named PlayStation Vita. Thank you.
Moore's Law is Dead, the YouTube channel, has recently put out a video talking about how there's a bunch of leaks, effectively, of the PlayStation 5 Pro being announced and a recent revelation of a PlayStation Vita 2, or whatever PlayStation Portable second new model thing is coming out. And I know they just released a recent handheld, the PlayStation Portal, which, no matter how much I hate it, it exists now, and it's kind of strange Sony would immediately be working on another device, unless they were planning something truly different for the next generation. And some of the I'll run you through some of the leaks. One of the main parts of this leak, it will have native backwards compatibility for all digital PS4 games, which would be massive if true. It would have one immediately, day of launch, one of the largest libraries of games on any handheld, and it would have so many high-quality gaming experiences that nobody would have to wait for. And most of the people who would already have had a PS4, which thousands would already have had tons of digital game purchases, including like people like me and my brother, we would have thousands, I'm going to say thousands, tens of games to immediately play on this device, which is a bold choice, because one of the major allures of a console is not necessarily the games that you can play on it, but all the games that will come out for it, which is really interesting to see Sony sort of take this whole, backwards compatibility initiative, which they've been kind of horrible with, and also at sometimes fantastic about it. Because if you all remember, the original PS3 had native support for PS1 and PS2 games, but then they would later strip that out of future revisions of the console, and the PS4 has zero form of backwards compatibility, which is very disappointing to a lot of people. And it's really interesting to see Sony take the initiative on making a new handheld gaming device capable, first off, of playing all these games, and two, natively supporting all digital PS4 purchases, assuming your account transfers over and you're allowed to re-download all your games. But assuming it's the same games, I don't see any reason why not. It's currently being discussed, apparently, that AMD is working on a high-level design phase for this new sort of APU that they would be developing for this handheld. And apparently it's somewhere between like a couple, 2 or 3 years out from being like officially greenlit or launched. I don't know what the difference is with that, but that's what Moore's Law specified. And money has been exchanged between AMD and Sony on this project. So it's not rather if this is happening, it's more of a matter of when, I guess. But I still have my doubts. Take this with a massive grain of salt, because the odds of this still coming to fruition, we're so early in development that if something goes wrong or if something changes between now and then, AMD and Sony will just wash their hands of this and pretend it never existed. And we have just gotten our hopes up for nothing. So it's too early to say for sure if any of this will come true. But some of the other stuff people are saying, like Moore's Law, is that there's going to be some sort of like pro patch. For some of the PS4 games got patches after the fact once the PS4 Pro came out to have increased performance or better stability, stuff like that. And he's speculating that there could be some sort of patch for PS5 games to run it natively on this new PlayStation Portable, which I think is a bit of a stretch. I don't know how likely most of these developers would be able to do that. Think of this small indie developer. Yeah, sure, they might have an easier time doing that than, sort of almost effectively backporting games to a weaker hardware standard, which is a little strange for them to do, considering that it might not necessarily be more profitable or the chance to gain any more profit by doing that. So it's really interesting to see that this is what's being speculated on at the moment. And something that he can 100% confirm is that there is a new PlayStation handheld in early development, and that AMD has already gotten the contract for the PlayStation 6, the exact specs and details of which are currently being what is speculated. So some of the specs of this new PlayStation handheld could be it has 18 CUs, which is really good because most of these Windows-based gaming handhelds like the iNeos and stuff usually have between sort of like 12 and 16, I believe, is the highest we've seen so far. And those can offer great deal of performance. I believe the PS5's native GPU in it has the 32 CUs. So it would take a little bit more of optimization and, patching to get, PS5 games to work on this device. But judging by what Moore's Law is sort of talking about is that is probably going to be what the case is. And he even talks about how this could be some sort of companion to the PlayStation 6. And the whole reason behind this is something that has to do with like home consoles in Japan don't necessarily do very well, but the Switch has a high attachment rate there. So Sony's like, okay, we'll have a handheld again. But I don't necessarily see that as a good reason to do it. But with ever powerful smartphones coming out and more AAA game experiences coming to mobile devices, like Resident Evil 4 recently, the announcement of Assassin's Creed Origins, I believe that's the game, whatever the new Assassin's Creed game is coming to mobile, and a bunch of other smaller indie games like Dead Cells, Stardew Valley, all have native iOS or Android versions. So that is something that Sony might have to consider going forward. And this could be their attempt to sort of prepare their own foray back into this mobile gaming space that is seemingly to grow very quickly and with a lot more support than it has ever had before in the past. But something that I always said about the PSP and the Vita, the 3DS, why those were so good and why I preferred playing those over mobile games, it's that one, not only did I, have those to begin with, and I didn't have a phone at the time, but even once I did have a phone and I could download all of the mobile games that I want, they're just fundamentally different kinds of devices. And a mobile phone isn't inherently a comfortable platform to play these sort of games on. Have you ever tried playing these new Resident Evil ports on iOS with fucking touch controls? It's horrendous. And getting these controllers to put on your phone is kind of expensive, especially because not every controller is currently supported on iOS, and you need to buy like this special, Apple preferred program fucking controllers, or you need to patch older Android USB-C controllers to work on your new iPhone. It's dumb. And something else that I always would say in the past was, because they have one sort of hardware thing to design around, one specific power level they have, they can easily optimize, and everybody can say, okay, this is what we're working with. We all can agree this is the same thing. So we don't need to have like, okay, you got to fucking make a little bit different to this device, and then you got to, for this other device, you got to make it a little bit different. And it's just easier when you just have the one thing. And even nowadays, I don't even like playing games on my phone. I have 2 games installed on my phone: Terraria, Minecraft, and there's a third, Clash of Clans, because I will never stop playing Clash of Clans. Those 3 games are the only ones I've ever played on my phone. And the Terraria and Minecraft kind of suck on mobile, if I'm being honest. It's just nice to have a separate device for gaming. And not to mention, you will need your phone for other things. Your phone is supposed to last you all day. But a gaming device you could realistically only need it for at least a few hours, 2 or 3. If the Switch has proven us anything, a bad battery life doesn't necessarily mean it's a shit console. Because I still have my launch Nintendo Switch, and that fucker still kicking. I can play Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom for like 2 hours before it starts to say low battery. But it's never annoyed me. It's never been a problem. But my phone being at 10% or about to die, that's always been a problem. So the likelihood of people actually spending time but playing games on their phone like that, high-end AAA games, I feel like is relatively low and not necessarily the most immediate threat. It might pull a lot out of the casual market, like people who don't necessarily buy, the new console every generation the moment it comes out, or people who play every single game that comes out. The people that will be, sort of aiming for this sort of future of, all of these games on your phone is people who don't care about that kind of stuff. people who are super casual, people who play exclusively fucking like Madden games or some shit like that. Those people will be the ones that Sony will lose, and it's that market precisely Sony might try to retain by going back into the handheld space. But what are your thoughts? Are you interested in a new Sony handheld? Do you think it'll have PS4 backwards compatibility? Or do you think it'll be more of like a PlayStation 6 companion? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. This is a very interesting topic, and I can't wait to get more information about this because I can't wait, and I hope Sony makes a new handheld. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. All that other social media garbage down below. And last but not least, have a wonderful day.